Welcome to the Honest Psychologist podcast, where two licensed clinical psychologists have joined the chat. I'm Dr. Whitney Graff.
I'm Dr. Paige Hover. We bring our years of expertise to the conversations you're already having, breaking down the topics shaping culture, social media, and everyday life.
No psychobabble, just relatable discussions about how our minds work and why it matters. All right. So we were talking about what we were each writing about.
Yes.
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I recently wrote an article about self-care. And more so, I think my take on how to actually utilize self-care, and I think how it goes a little bit against the grain of what I think in mainstream media it's portrayed as, but I do also find people craving. So I think that in mainstream media, it's often associated with positivity or relaxation, bubble baths, mindfulness, taking a retreat. And I find that stuff isn't super effective. And I talk about specific ways in which I think it's not effective and how self-care actually should be effective, because I think that people are finding themselves aware that self-care, I put it in air quotes, is something they should be doing and prioritizing, but struggling to do or don't find it as enjoyable. And so I talk a little bit about why that is and what self-care actually should be. And spoiler alert, it's probably pretty uncomfortable.
Ooh. Can I tell you, when I first started to sense that my path in this field was starting to I have a metaphor in my brain, but I can't quite think of it. Almost like I was going off of the curve that everyone else was following. I was like, oh, my path is not following with the path of everybody else in our field. It was when self-care got really big. And that was a long time ago. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. I could be wrong about this, but I'm picturing 2013.
Do you remember what self-care was being talked about?
It's what you just said. It's the endless discussion of you need to take a bubble bath.
Yes.
And I don't know why bubble baths got so big. I don't know why it became all about the eye masks. This is all very female coded. And then it always had this tinge of you need this. It will feel good. You should do this. And if you're not, that's why you're a mess. Mm-hmm. And I just remember being is that really what I went to school for 5 years, is to learn to tell people to take bubble baths?
Do you know how many people actually hate baths? We should do a poll.
Oh, we should do a poll. Okay, I'm actually in the group of people who, in the right situation, will enjoy a bubble bath.
Oh, I love a bubble bath.
It hasn't happened in years. And I felt like it was not serious.
Yes. Well, I find too that there's an eye roll that comes with self-care of just or the follow-up of, okay, great, so when am I going to fit that in? And
yeah, exactly.
That's the issue. There's no time for yourself, right? So part of what I talk about in the article is most people, and I talk about this with my clients often, is that we often don't have success because we're adding something in. We're not taking it away. We're taking our already packed schedules that are stressing us out and squeezing something in. So we're going to the gym before work. We're going to try to eat healthier. We're going to try to take some time to just take a mindful walk. All that stuff is great. But if we add it into our already busy schedules, it's not going to work. It's the same concept of a vacation doesn't do anything if you don't address why you need a vacation and do something afterwards to make it so that you don't desperately need a vacation. Love vacations. However, how we think about them in our kind of burnout culture, it's not helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it just to say now find more time to undo what's been done, I think just felt like piling on, and then it's you can do it if you really strategize your time. If you've really scheduled very, very carefully, so put a lot of effort into scheduling your whole life in a very precise manner so that you'll have time for those things for yourself. So you're saying it's about taking stuff away.
It is taking stuff away.
What do you mean?
So you have to, if you want to work out, like, that's great. So when are you going to cut out what you're already doing to make time for that? Do you, so in the article I talk more specifically, like, take some time to think about when you actually feel best or when you want to work out. We're inclined to move our bodies. Like, we usually want to do that. When do you find yourself doing that? Okay, let's say it's 11 o'clock in the afternoon. Great. Okay, so you work a 9 to 5. Is there a time where you could take a break, or could you come in an hour early to make time for that, but not adding it in on top of everything else? You're taking something away to be able to accommodate that. Or maybe you have flex time. Maybe you just take an appointment time. Like, if you've got sick time or something like that, build that in. I'm obviously talking that is like not 100% realistic, but this idea of like thinking about when it's actually ideal and thinking about the hard questions you have to ask yourself to make that a priority.
Give me more examples of these hard questions.
Maybe you want to go to the workout class at 5, but you're on, you work until like 6, even though your work day ends at 5. I'm not working until 6 that day. Like, I've put in my 8 hours. The day ends at 5. I'm leaving. Now, maybe they're used to you like cleaning things up or taking care of the last few last minute things before you wrap up for the day. Put a hard pass. I gotta go. Bye.
I saw this funny article. Somebody had written, they were like, I've finally had it with all of these like trends, quote unquote, in like working. And one of them that they were kind of rolling their eyes at was quiet quitting. Yep. They're like, oh, you mean just like
simple boundaries?
They're like, oh, you mean just ending work when the workday is supposed to end? Do we have to call this a trend and give it a name? You mean you're just doing your job and not doing extra? Okay, but what if some jobs are greedy? I like this term. I heard it recently, the idea of a greedy job where you are not given hours and you're really just given outcomes. It's like, okay, we're measuring your success, performance versus your failure in your role as whether or not these outcomes get met. And there's kind of an understanding that like you get paid more because this job can kind of ask what it wants to of you. What advice would you have for people who have greedy jobs, who are thinking maybe they need more self-care?
Well, the greedy job usually requires you to give 150%, right? So I think then it's giving 125%.
Oh, interesting.
So you're still giving more than you need, but maybe it's not perfection, or maybe it is less than what they are used to you giving. And I emphasize that because it's not doing your job poorly. You're giving too much in the first place. So give a little bit of too much, not all of too much, right? 150% versus 125%. People are going to notice that difference. Maybe you might get some comments on a performance review. Maybe a boss might be like, hey, like, what's going on? And I think that that's okay to acknowledge. I am trying to balance work. I'm still getting my work done. However, I'm trying to make sure I'm prioritizing balance and having those tough conversations that come with that. Or also just kind of tolerating giving a little bit less. Like, sometimes the greedy jobs ask a lot, but we also set the bar of what our standard of performance is. So you can also set that bar a little bit lower.
Okay, I forgot what I was going to ask you just now. Shoot. I feel like I'm interviewing you now, but I think it's working. So let's go with it. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm curious, in your work with people coming to you for burnout, is that a lot of what you're seeing is that, this is what I was going to ask. Is it that you see a lot of people feeling like their identity gets tied up with the work. And then that makes me think in my mind, well, if we're saying do 125% instead of 150%, do they notice the absence of that 25% almost as like a, but I'm not me if I'm not working? Or like when I stop working, I don't know who I am or what to do?
So it depends. It's a couple different situations. I see it a lot if I'm trying to work with somebody to manage burnout in their current job. A lot of times people assume that it's the current job and they wouldn't have this in another job. So they can externalize it a lot and be like, okay, it's the job. And it's like, okay, that's fair, but we can still work with this kind of thing. Where it really comes up of realizing it's an identity piece is when they go to a new job and they start putting the patterns in before the expectations are even there. And that's a really tough moment where they're like, oh, it wasn't the job. It was some of the job for sure, but there's also a piece of me that I can understand that. And there's some conversations I think people will have some insight around that before they switch a job or if they stay in a job. But it is hard to recognize that there is something that feels good about exceeding expectations, about doing more. And it's very hard, I think, to recognize the ways in which ways in which people are contributing to some of that burnout, that it's not just the job. It's a hard realization.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've gotten trapped in that too. I think it's very relatable. And it probably, here's another question for you. Do you see trends with like personality style? Because I know my personality style, I don't really think of myself as being type A, but I am an anxious personality, and I'm always been one of those people where like if I set my mind to it, I can succeed at it, or like that's what I believe about myself. And there's kind of like, but I just dig deeper. That's just what I do. Like when I want something, I dig deep to do it. And then it terrifies me, the idea of somebody saying, you know, Whitney, you're not doing enough, or you're not putting in enough. You need to be digging deeper. You need to be finding more to give to this, because, you know, we can succeed at this huge goal as long as we all give everything that we've got. And I'm like, okay, don't be disappointed in me. I'm doing even more. Let's do it. And I will internalize the goal myself. Like, okay, if I can achieve at this, I can exceed expectations, and then they'll see me exceeding at expectations, and then I'll get the glow of other people's approval. I don't know, is any of this relatable?
It is 100%. So 2 thoughts. One, I actually am starting to write a piece on that. It's not about perfection. It's about the high that comes from exceeding expectations.
Yes.
It's not about like, ooh, I did it perfectly. You didn't even know this was a bar, and I sneaky just like, look at this. And so it's not only the high of exceeding expectations, but it's making it look effortless. That is very intoxicating.
Oh my God, we're all inner ballet dancers.
I'll save that for
inner ballerinas. You do this super hard thing that hurts so much, but you make it look effortless, like you're not in pain.
Yes. So to answer your question more directly about the personality type, it's not so much the determined. Like, I don't see it as that. I honestly see it more as there's a passivity to it, like that blends in with this idea of it being effortless. That I would say the personality trait I see the most in this kind of situation is, yes, they enjoyed exceeding expectations, but it's more about being the person that somebody doesn't have to worry about, right? Like, I'm just quietly working great behind the scenes. I don't need to come in and check on you. I don't need to assume anything is wrong because you're taking care of it, which translates a lot of times in the workforce to people who are very self-driven, who are critical thinkers, who are not going to be anyone that you have to really think about. You know, they run well-oiled machines behind the scenes, and they rarely come to you with problems.
Oh, but they're working extra hard to kind of achieve that level of quiet success. Ooh, I really relate to this.
Yes.
And then it feels like the cost of doing a little less is that you might be noticed.
Exactly.
Because I can say for me, and I'm sure other people can probably relate to this, where like your worst fear is your boss calling you in and saying, hey, I noticed you're not doing as much, or hey, this wasn't as exceptional as it always is.
Exactly.
Oh my God. So then like it's to be noticed, to draw any attention.
Yeah. Yeah. And where burnout comes in a lot is a lot of times they'll come in and say that the only way they want to be seen is if they are fried. Like they are undeniably fried, and that there's a very like there's an assumed not an assumed, but it's just very clear that like, oh wow, no, like you need some time away. Like you've done so well and now you're just like way down here. Like take care of yourself. So the in between is really hard, which is where the self-care maintenance comes in, being really difficult, because you have to acknowledge that you might be seen as just, hey, like I noticed you're not, like what's going on? If somebody was to have their boss call them in and say, hey, I noticed you're not giving me as much, or, it seems like your work is slipping a little bit, then I encourage people to start having harder conversations of, okay, well, what is exactly slipping, or what's the expectation, and introducing like, hey, maybe the expectation is here, but we've gotten used to me being way up here, but I need to start taking some back. Is that still meeting the expectations? The hope is that the boss can kind of hear that. But if we go back to like greedy jobs, like that might be a really tough conversation. I'm not going to lie about that. But also it's like holding firm to some boundaries of, am I still meeting my expectations? Yes. Then I'm going to keep doing this because I'm giving you all I've got and I'm doing a good job, but I can't give you an excellent job every single time.
Yeah, I could definitely see, like, I know some people, not necessarily in a work context, but maybe more in like a social context, who I'm thinking of, who are always the ones who step up to plan the block party, plan the retirement party, they're always the ones who will take it on when they need a volunteer, for the Cub Scouts, and when they need there's certain people I know who are just, they raise their hand, and everyone is really, really grateful for everything they give. And if it works, it's fine. It feels like you're not speaking to them then.
Yeah.
If they are sleeping well at night, everything's kind of rolling along and they're just feeling good, busy but okay. Sounds like you're talking about when people are kind of waving that flag to say something's wrong, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Something's not working.
Yeah.
And I feel like that could even be subtle too. Like, do you find that people, what are the ways that they get a clue that they're overextended, I think is what I'm saying. Is it like, I'm drinking more than I used to? I could see that one.
Yep. So I see that. I see that a lot of people don't know when I ask that question is, well, what's the sign? It's like, well, I don't know. Usually they know when it's too far gone. So it's when stuff starts to happen where a relationship is starting to really get like struggling or falling apart, or maybe somebody has come to you and said, you need to figure out your work situation. Our relationship is crumbling. Or they have medical issues that they can't identify, but is taking them out, like really getting really sick, getting really tight, all this stuff where it's like, oh my gosh, this is a problem. What's the other one? Or they are at risk of losing their job. Somebody has come to them and said, you need to get your stuff together, or this might be it. Drinking too much is a common one. So I find that most people don't know that answer. And that's one of the things I work with them identifying is, okay, what were some of the signs before you got too burnt out, kind of thing? Because it's like, almost like it's the same thing of the vacation mindset. It's like, you don't get to take a vacation as far as maintenance is concerned. You take a vacation when you desperately need it, kind of thing.
Yeah, you're gonna like when people get caught in a sort of cycle of all or nothing.
Yes.
Where I'm gonna go at an intense level, and then I'm gonna screech to a halt, go on vacation, a week on the beach.
Yeah.
That's gonna fix it. Then I'm gonna go back and go. You're talking about like these extremes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you're right, being comfortable in the middle would be, I mean, that's going to be an adjustment.
It's an adjustment for sure. And it's a consistent, like the act of self-care is doing these little things that maybe feel uncomfortable in the moment, but serve a bigger purpose in the end. And it's hard. Like I understand that listeners might be hearing this and being like, that's just totally unrealistic. And sometimes it can feel that way, but it is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to set those boundaries and recognize where you have to say no to things or, do a little bit of less so that you can have some time back to actually maybe incorporate things that feel good, but you have to address what's not working first.
Well, isn't that kind of that's sort of the position we often find ourselves in if we are in the role of therapist. Mm-hmm. Like, how often have I said to somebody, you're right, you're absolutely right, and your boss is not sitting across from me right now. Mm-hmm. So I have no direct access to your boss's mind or their expectations. You can speak up and advocate. You can try, mm-hmm. but like, I can't control another person.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so if it's the individual sitting across from me who's saying, I just got told I have high blood pressure and it's dangerous and my doctor suggested that I'm stressed out, they can be absolutely right that like this job is crazy. Mm-hmm. The expectations are out of control. Mm-hmm. And it's that thing about like, it's not about blame, it's about responsibility. So if it's the individual with the high blood pressure, it's still us, as like advisors or whatever saying, okay, then what do you control?
Yeah.
It might be that if it's really intractable, it's like, I have to get a different job.
Yes.
That could be because maybe you've tried, maybe this just is the way it is. I'm thinking of lawyers that I know where there just is an expectation that it is intense and there is no wiggle room. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, you have a choice. I mean, I'm so big on like, it's a free country.
Yeah.
So if you want to stay in that, and that's what's really important to you, staying in that intense work environment, okay, well then what levers can you pull?
Yep.
If you're getting this message that like, okay, your blood pressure's out of control, or if your spouse is saying your drinking is out of control, or you're absent from our marriage or something, then what levers can you yourself actually pull if you cannot change that environment?
Mm-hmm. And I think for like employers, it comes up a lot too of just like, well, how do we increase retention? And I think that, sometimes I think this can be seen as like, oh, well, I have to leave. I think there's a lot of thoughts where people have, well, I don't know how to fix that, so I'm going to go get a new job. And I think for employers, they can be like, oh, that's a real bummer of like, I want to focus on retention. But I think even for employers, they have to be able to tolerate, hey, I don't want to leave this job, but the way this job is working is not working for me. So how can we have these conversations? Like I'd love to see those conversations happening, and I'm sure they are at some point, but it doesn't, even in a work context, I think it can be this all or nothing kind of thing. And sometimes employers can say like, well, I'll go find somebody that will, and they can, but I'd love to see employers work with their employees.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that some of the people who, are listening and are interested are also maybe bosses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's like being open to like the little bit of stuff, tough stuff along the way of just like, okay, how do we make adjustments? How do we do this kind of stuff like that can help increase employee retention?
Yeah. Before we started recording, I was telling you I'm in a bit of a searching place myself right now. Mm-hmm. And so I've been reading more on things like I've been reading some Buddhist writers, and the emphasis on getting more accustomed to boredom, understimulation, to like refraining from meeting every urge that you have, being able to be with yourself in the quiet without busying your mind, without immediately seeking to sort of self-gratify in some kind of way. I mean, these are like pretty old concepts that I think we've all heard, but I am struck by the contrast between the way it, okay, so I'm reading Pema Chodron. Okay. Never thought I would, but I am. It's confusing, but it's food for thought.
Okay.
But the contrast between like the way that she writes about this and the way I've been approached in the past, like, could you come to this workplace and design workplace mindfulness exercises for us? It's night and day. Like, that is not, I feel like that's not what we're talking about. Like, let's just sort of slap a Band-Aid of some meditation onto a problematic employee expectation, or I never agreed to do those. And sometimes I could say kind of like why I wasn't into it, and sometimes I had a hard time putting my finger on like why this doesn't feel right. Back when mindfulness got big, kind of around the same time that the bubble bath thing got big. But I think it's a bastardization. And when you're talking about taking things away, and then I'm reading about, you know, can you sit for 10 minutes without reaching for anything? And how hard might that be to simply sit for 10 minutes, and then also to notice your mind struggle against it. And my mind will struggle like, I don't have 10 minutes. I have like, but I'm supposed to be doing something. Or even, is this 10 minutes helping me figure out something that I'm searching for right now? Is this a productive 10 minutes? Will it get me to the answer I'm looking for? These are the exact things that it's like warning against.
Yes. Yeah. Can I tell you, I've started a new practice where I've tried to not look at my phone for the first 30 minutes of my day.
Ooh, how's it going?
It's okay. So I saw somebody say, okay, maybe I'm going to try an hour. And I don't know if they got that from an article or something like that, but I saw it come across my social media. I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to do an hour, but maybe I can try a half an hour. And if I can do it most days out of the week, I'd be okay. Well,
oh no.
I think I'm doing an okay job as starting something, but it is incredibly difficult. The urge from the second I wake up to grab my phone and start scrolling. I grab my phone to know what time it is. And then the urge to follow it up with checking my email, checking socials, doing all of that. And I've convinced myself at some point that it helps me wake up. And it's like, well, yeah, you're being thrown stimulation at your face. Of course, it's going to like jazz you up. But like, it doesn't help. And so speaking to your point, I've tried to do that, and it's very difficult. But the last thing I'll say of like why this thought came up around self-care is I was talking with somebody about doing a workshop, and we were talking about scheduling, and they wanted to do it on Sunday. And it's like, Sunday's not my favorite day to do anything for work, because that's my day to kind of unwind before the work week. But the emphasis on it was, well, yeah, like let's like do a mindfulness workshop and do some self-care talk before they go into the work week. And I had to kind of push on that a little bit of like,
that's interesting.
You know, because there was this idea that like, yeah, let's just like really zen out before we go into intensity. And it's like, yes, and it's the same concept of a vacation, right? Like, take this beach vacation and then you can deal with the craziness. And then you can come back and have some time again, maybe again on a Sunday in a couple months from now. And so I actually posited the ideas of doing it on like a Wednesday at like 5:00, where it's like, this would actually encourage. Now, part of it was, let's increase engagement for the first time around. We were going to try something out. And I was like, yeah, for the first one, let's do a Sunday. Let's see how it goes. But in the future ones, I'd really like to see something on like 5 o'clock on like a Wednesday, because that's going to take some planning. That's going to take people having to say, you know what, I really want to go to this. I normally have to do school pickup or drop off from practice, or I have to, usually I'm at work until 6 o'clock. All of that is going to require people to take something out, to say, hey, I want to prioritize myself for this moment. I need you to take care of something else, or I need to offload some of this so I can make time for myself.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I find myself reacting that like it's not going to work to zen out on Sunday and then go into Monday.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That, I mean, at the very least, that is not my style. Just because, I mean, you can't fool yourself. So if you have, a sense of mild dread going into Monday, I've never been able to trick myself into like, just don't feel that, or, be relaxed instead of feeling, what am I trying to say here?
Well, I think it's like this like idea of like bolstering it, like boost up on your relaxation, so hopefully it carries you through the whole week. And
that
it's
does
like,
not happen to me.
It doesn't happen.
Does that happen to you?
No.
Oh,
but I think that's the whole concept of self-care is like, well, yeah, really boost it up on the weekends and it can carry you through the week, or, and I think sometimes it's rooted in avoidance, like avoid the Sunday scaries by introducing this very relaxing opposite of Sunday scary mode. Yes. I'm going to actively go find something. And part of that isn't wrong, right? With the whole opposite reaction, like if we're feeling anxious, go find. But that's not 100% it.
Okay, I don't know why I'm confused in this moment, but I can't say why. I just think that's not right.
It's 100%. Yeah.
Because yes, when part of me is like, if we could live in the moment more on Sunday, that would probably address some Sunday scaries. This is something I'm trying to think more about because I actually had a sense of dread this morning because back to school is coming up.
Oh my God.
And I'm not ready to tackle that right now. And I'm like, it's July. It's not back to school. I'm like, be in the moment. Yeah. Like, Whitney, don't be in mid-August when you're in mid-July. So I do think there's something to that.
Yeah.
So if you could be more in the moment on Sunday, but the idea that you are going to store it up and then sort of like dispense it little by little throughout the week, that I don't think that's how humans work.
Or even the idea of like doing all of the like decompressing from the week, because you're going to go into a tough week. So then decompress on Sundays, this was not like said specifically. So I don't know if that's 100% the thought process around like the Sunday activity, but I do find even in my like talking with clients of just like, yeah, there's this idea of just like, oh, if I can capitalize on my relaxation now, I can get through the week.
That's the problem. It's the striving. Yeah. That's inherent in that. Because as you said that, you almost made this like claw hand, this sort of trying to grab and hold. I'm going to get relaxed and then I will be, I'll just take that in. It's the striving of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas, if Sunday is a day off, then we need to be in the day off, not in the future day where it's going to be hard work. So you get the most out of the rest just simply by being in the rest. And you probably like don't strive even further to like, I got to get the perfect Sunday relaxation class. Relaxation is available at that exact moment. You don't actually need a class to sort of be in the moment.
Right.
If we just sort of start dropping the shoulds and the have tos and the pressure that we put on it, it's available at any moment to stop striving sort of and just be. And so if there's nothing going on Sunday, then you already have everything.
Yeah.
And then the task is to like be sort of disciplined about that so that we don't allow ourselves to go into the future, the future struggle for the next day. Like let Monday be on Monday.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting
pros
stuff.
and cons, right? Like pros and cons for that. I think it's like, it seems like it makes sense a little bit too. And that's what I was saying with this event. Like, yeah, like it makes sense. Like Sunday is like a day when maybe people are trying to promote relaxation anyway. So let's like fold that in. But I think it's also important to think about that you can fold that in other days as well.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no rule that you're only allowed to do that on Sunday.
Yep.
You know, how long have we been trying to get people to take lunch breaks back
Oh my God.
during weekdays?
Yep.
I mean, you know, yes, we're realistic. I know what those meeting schedules can look like, where it's just back to back to back to back to back. But as much as possible, I think we lose something when we don't have a lunch hour on work days. And it doesn't have to be a lunch hour. It could be a lunch 10 minutes, but like, you know, if you tasted your food, if you only had 8 minutes, but at least you got to really taste the sandwich,
Yeah.
you know, and you practice sort of putting down the work for 8 minutes while you really ate the sandwich.
Yep.
That would be self-care, and it would require almost nothing different.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because I don't know anybody who can just, you know, exist on oxygen and no food. So at some point we're eating.
Right. And I even try to make myself like not look at something while I'm eating. Like I find myself like if I am trying to look at my phone while I'm eating, I feel like this fuzzy, overwhelming feeling. And so I try to put myself to like, okay, then put it away. But then the urge to go grab that phone while I'm eating on my lunch break is insane.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I was in a beautiful area of Wisconsin this past weekend, and I was visiting a friend, and I just think when you live there, you stop seeing things. Like that's how we all kind of are. But I just could not stop saying it. I was like, where you live is gorgeous.
Yeah.
There's like water everywhere, and every time I like walked out of a shop or something, I'd be on this like river walk with this like flowing river going by, and this, you know, pelican and a heron, and I'm like, this is amazing. And I just kept sort of stopping in my tracks to be like, you live here, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just what that made me think of, is like bringing back some simple, like the simple kind of joys of just what do you see around you that's beautiful, or can you stop, you know, and taste the sandwich? Can you stop the scrolling and just sit and like, yeah.
The minor acts of self-care that happen all the time.
Yeah.
But you were saying, so like kind of talking about self-care, the Buddhism, stuff like that. So do you want to transition to your piece and talk about what you wrote?
What if we leave it as a cliffhanger?
Ooh, I like that idea. So stay tuned for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe I'll have it like fully worked out, or like maybe at more of a, you know, a stopping point, or I'll press the publish button on it or whatever.
Yeah, same. So you can check out your writing eventually, and then mine I'll link into the show notes.
Oh yeah, okay, so we'll link yours in the show notes. I publish just on the Honest Psychologist Substack.
I have my own Substack.
What's your Substack?
Mine, I think, is Dr. Hover. I can't remember.
No.
Oh
boy, you're bad at this self-promotion thing.
I am. It's either Dr. Hover or Big Picture Psych. I think it's Big Picture Psych, but I
think it's Big Picture Psych.
I think it's Big Picture Psych, because this is where I'm newish to Substack, because I don't know if my username and my handle are the same, but I'm pretty sure I try to make them all the same, because my Instagram is Big Picture Psych, my website's Big Picture Psych. I'm pretty sure it's Big Picture Psych.
Yeah, I think it might be too. Okay, so I can try to find the link, and I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah. And anything else that we want to link to? Are you like reading or watching anything interesting lately?
No, I'm in a real show slump, if I'm being honest.
I just started the new season of The Bear.
Oh, that's so chaotic. I started it as well. I got one episode in, and I was just like, The Bear is just chaos, but not going anywhere. It's the same theme. They're gonna lose the restaurant at any moment, and the chaos is ensuing. It's like, oh, okay.
I was saying to Steve last night that part of my struggle with it is that I can't stand pretentious, fussy food that with like
The
foams and the edible flowers laid on with the tweezers. I can't with that stuff. And so I find myself not necessarily rooting for the restaurant because I don't honestly care if they get the star or whatever. I'm like, maybe, I don't know.
My prediction for this season is that we're still going to get to the end of the season and not know if they get the star.
That's very
And we're not going to know if
possible.
Sydney's going to tell her she's going to leave. We don't know. That was the big question last time. Didn't get answered.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to get answered.
Well, I mean, season 3 moved the plot not at all. So maybe the plot will actually move. You got to root for the show set in our, hometown of Chicago.
I know.
But,
But yeah, it's chaos. It's really stressful. It's also like if you have Apple, the studio is also kind of like The Bear in that it is just chaos.
What's it about?
It's about a guy who becomes the new head of Paramount Studios or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it is just like
it's
like slapstick comedy. Not really slapstick comedy. It's like meant to be a comedy, but it's so uncomfortable. Like if you've ever watched any like Family Guy episode where they're like beating a dead horse over and over again, and it's like uncomfortable because it's like, oh my gosh, please, this is so uncomfortable. That's what the studio is.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I don't have Apple.
I used to say I highly recommend it, and now it's like some of the shows are just like, they sound really cool, and they're like,
Okay.
yeah.
I do like St. Dennis. It's pretty decent.
I've heard
comedy.
of that. Yeah.
And then I don't know. We watch a lot of reruns.
We're on New Girl all the time.
You watch New Girl? Yeah. I'm all about 30 Rock.
Well,
By the way, Jack Donaghy was the first to say, "I need a vacation from this vacation." The backflip is 90% confidence.
yeah, no, I don't think I'm reading anything educational for myself right now. I'm in the Throne of Glass series and just trying to dissociate at times.
Yeah.
Give me fantasy, give me fairies and dragons and
Yeah, I'm
all sorts of
between
nonsense.
reading. I'm apparently reading Pema Chodron. Apparently. All right.
All right. Well, now that we've given you our thoughts on The Bear and
Very, very important, our take on this.
but yeah, tune in next week when we talk about Whitney's article and what she was writing and her thoughts on that.
And if you're on Apple Podcasts, click a star review because apparently we have a hard time with our visibility. So please rate and review, I guess.
Yeah,
And
let us
maybe-
know what you think.
Is it like that on Spotify? I have literally no idea.
I don't
know. But yeah,
This is how good we are at podcasting.
we're bad at it.
Hey, we're psychologists trying to do a
judgments.
podcast. So, try something new.
Right?
Be afraid. Don't be afraid to
Reinvent
suck
yourself.
at something.
All right. Till next time.
Okay, bye.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for treatment of any kind.